right? It says
Hey,
go
we're
live.
live
Then we
now.
are live.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so there's a couple things where it says it's not working, but hey, we'll remove those. Yes. Anyway, we'll start off and we will go live. All right, ready? Here we go. On the count of three, we'll do our pledge of allegiance.
I
Ready?
pledge allegiance to the
I
flag
pledge allegiance
of the
to the
United
flag
States of
of
America,
the United States of America,
to the
to
republic
the republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
liberty,
justice
and
for all.
justice for all. Yes, indeed. We're gonna play a little of that. Bananarama, Cruel Summer. Summer's over, right?
Here
Did
we
we
go.
have the official end of summer? We did, right? So summer is
Oh, yeah.
over. So I turned it down a little bit because it's a little loud, but yeah. So summer's over, but we're having a cruel summer on Rick and Jeff Unfiltered. I'm going to back my volume out so you can take over and play your music. Go ahead. You are going to go live. Or are you going to go live?
All right, countdown.
Countdown.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Rick and Jeff.
Unfiltered! Ladies and gentlemen, yes, we are unfiltered. My brother's music's not playing very loud, but it's doing all right. There you go. Oh, there we go.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Hello there, ladies and gents. Are you ready to rock?
Ready to rock.
Are you ready
Are
to
you
rock?
ready to rock? Yes, we are ready to rock. We are ready to go. It's a really big show today. A really big show. We're gonna rock and roll tonight with a interview of Kamala Harris and Brett Baer on Fox News. We're gonna talk about Fox News interview with Kamala Harris and Brett Baer. Kamala, is it Kamala or Kamala? I don't remember. Kamala Harris. Don't want to mispronounce her name. But I might be misgendering her though if I'm saying it's a female. I don't know. I don't know what her stance is on that.
You never know. You just never know.
I don't want to be accused of misgendering Kamala, Vice President Kamala Harris. So yeah. So we are live. We are live. We're live. And what do we want to talk about? We were watching the Kamala interview with Brett Baer, right? So my brother and I haven't really talked about this because we wanted to kind of make it a live response and
wanted to get our fresh reaction live.
Fresh reaction, yeah. So overall, I thought it was a pretty good interview. I was pleasantly surprised that Brett Baer was not backing away and he was going after her and asking her specific questions and asking for answers to those specific questions. And I think for the most part, she didn't answer any of them, I don't think. So, but that's just me. So what's your take?
Yeah, she answered a couple near the end, but she didn't answer the border at all. She didn't answer about transgenderism at all.
Sex change.
And there's another one too. I'm just gonna follow the law. I'm just going to follow the law.
Sex change in prison. She tried to say that Trump did that too. No, Trump did that. No, he never did that. And Brett was really
called
good
her out on it.
Calling her out on that. So I was happy about that. So yesterday, my brother and I were talking about this, and I told him, I said, I actually told him, I said, I will be surprised how this goes. And I said, I would not be surprised if when 5 o'clock comes around, he says that they decided that they didn't want to air their interview, so he doesn't play it. Now, I said that, and I admit it. I was wrong. So there you go.
Well, they did do something similar, though, at the end. Did you hear what he said? He said, they were supposed to meet at 5 o'clock.
Yep.
And do a half hour. Then they changed it. It was only going to be 20 to 25 minutes. And then she didn't show up till like 5:15. And at the end, he had to cut it because he had to get to the news. So they made the time so that he couldn't get all the questions, and all the questions in he wanted, and it was obvious that she was dragging her feet,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
going long-winded on non-answers so that he could not ask her another question.
Yeah.
And
And
and, and,
I
and, you know, I wouldn't even have minded her giving long-winded if what she was saying had anything to do with the question. But it's like that Saturday night skit. I was brought up in a middle
born
class
middle
family, and
class family.
I had green grass. And is there anything about your glove compartment in there? I'm just wondering. It was kind of like that.
Right.
So I
And
will say this: she she did better than I thought she was going to do, but I had a very low bar set for her. I thought she was going to be absolutely terrible. Okay,
yeah.
and she did, but not a lot better, but she did better than I thought she was going to do. But she did get pissed and she did get mad, and you could see her steaming. You could see it.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Because
she doesn't
he
she doesn't like people talk over her at all. She
right.
doesn't mind
Yeah.
doing it, but she doesn't like other people doing it to her for sure. And he had
Right.
every reason to do it, because if he didn't, all we would have got out of her was the first non-answer to the first question about the
Yeah,
border.
for the whole
She'd still be
25
talking about it
minutes.
right now
Yeah.
if
President
he didn't
Trump was at
interrupt her.
fault. It was President Trump's fault
Yeah,
that we had all these border problems,
yeah.
and I thought it was interesting that the first answer, my brother and I have had many conversations on this, but her first answer is, well, the immigration laws are broken. Okay, well, you've been in the Senate for how many years? You've been vice president for 3.5 years. So what did you do to fix it?
And they had the
Absolutely
Senate
nothing.
and the Congress for 2 of those years, and they
Yeah,
didn't do it.
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
So, and we've also said this too. We understand that the border is broken. We
right,
understand a couple things about that. One, Trump did executive orders to make it so that they couldn't come over unless they were coming over legally. Two
right,
is, both parties are to blame that it's broken. It's been
right,
broken for 30 years or so,
yeah,
and both parties keep coming. They just use it as a gimmick to try to get elected instead of
right.
fixing the damn thing.
Yep. And
So
both parties have had multiple times where they've had the control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and neither one of them has done anything to fix the immigration law. But
right.
being the fact that the immigration law is broken, how about if we just start by enforcing the laws that we have? Maybe we should just start there, right? It's broken, but let's enforce the ones that
Right.
we have and see what happens with that. You know,
Right.
like
And that's
like
the other point, is they're not even enforcing the laws that we have. And they
right,
did away with the things that Trump had in place that kept them waiting in Mexico or in their home
right,
country so they're not here illegally waiting to see a judge.
right,
Okay. Which
exactly.
is ridiculous in my opinion. But whatever.
Yeah, yeah. It is rather comical that both the Republicans and the Democrats are using this as a campaigning issue, and I just would like it to be done. Why don't you fix it? And I think
Right.
Trump was trying to fix it when he was trying to build a wall. And he made the famous statement, "Well, I'll build the wall, and the Mexicans will pay for it." Right? But
Right.
something that a lot of people don't understand is they spent millions of dollars to build the wall to what he said it was going to be, and you know what the Biden administration did? They sold all the remaining materials off for pennies on the dollar. Sold it all off. Got
Oh
rid of
yeah.
it. So they had materials that were still laying on the ground when President Trump ended his term and President Biden started his term, and the Biden administration sold it all off. And oh, by the way, that's
But
a
I thought they just
violation.
started rebuilding it again, and they said they had to do that because there was money already spent there or something like that.
Well, therein lies the problem, doesn't it? Because it doesn't seem like we can get the real facts on this stuff. So they're saying, well,
Yeah.
they can't do anything with it except for build the wall, and they started building the wall, but then they got a bunch of flack like, hey, how come you guys are building President Trump's wall when you said you didn't want a wall? And I think that's when they're like, yeah, we probably should stop that. Let's just get rid of all the materials so we can't build any more wall. You know, but
Hmm.
do you think there
Okay.
will ever be an investigative reporter that actually does a report on this or does an investigation to see I don't know, maybe actually do some real reporting on what's going on in our country in this aspect.
Well, we were talking about this earlier. You said there was an investigative reporter on Tucker Carlson. We had this discussion.
Oh yeah,
There's just not many investigative reporters out there anymore, and
right.
I don't know. Some of it's because the news people have become lazy, but most of it, I think, is because of money. The
Like the
newspapers used to have most of the investigative reporters, and they're not doing well. Um, and like the news would get their news from the newspapers, and or maybe they had their own investigative reporters. I don't know. But most of the big stories in our world that come up have come from newspaper reporters, and they just
right,
don't have them anymore because there's no money.
right.
So
You know, I was laughing because you know what I thought of, what movie I thought of when you're talking about the newspaper reporters.
what's that?
Did you ever see the movie Fletch with Chevy Chase?
Yeah.
Where he's a newspaper reporter and he's like trying to get some undercover stuff and he's wearing the clothes and stuff and I can just see if news reporters today did something similar to that, just doing some type of investigative reporting. And I know you're not a big fan of James O'Keefe, but James O'Keefe is just coming out with a movie, I think it's called Line in the Sand, where he went into Mexico and he walked and he got on trains and stuff with these illegals to come into America. He was arrested by the Mexican police and charged with a crime. And he did this all undercover and he made it all the way back to America on his own. Right. And he videotaped the whole thing. So,
Mhm.
so when he went to go into prison or go get arrested by the Mexican police, they took all his cameras, right? But they left his watch. Well, it turns out he had a camera on his watch. He turned it on and filmed the whole thing. So, and he really says that he was in fear of his life. So I think that James O'Keefe is a guy who actually is wanting to do some investigative reporting about what's going on, and he showed some real life events about what's going on with the illegal immigration coming into our country and how they get there, how they pay for it, the things that they have to go through in order to get to where they're going to and where they're coming from. So I'm gonna watch that. I think it's called Line in the Sand, and I think it came out
I just saw him
today.
somewhere, and he said that the Veritas project is no more. They bankrupted.
Yeah, so this is the Jeff Bennett Reader's Digest, which could be totally false. So I'm just going to lay that out there. Uh, James O'Keefe started Project Veritas, and they started doing some investigative
Yeah.
reporting, and it looks like BlackRock somehow got a hold of a major investor of Project Veritas, and they fired James O'Keefe, who was the CEO. They fired him and kicked him out, and then shortly thereafter, he started his own O'Keefe Media Group, OMG, and he started doing the exact same thing he was doing before. And Project Veritas continued to try to do some undercover reporting, but I don't think that they were doing very well or being very successful with it. And that's, like I said, that's
Well,
the
they're
Jeff Bennett
bankrupt now, is
Reader's
what he said.
report. Yeah, yeah, well, so
Um,
I wouldn't be
and my
surprised.
biggest problem with James O'Keefe is more of he only looks for problems with the Democrats. He doesn't look for all the problems, which makes me think he's got an agenda, which makes me suspicious on what he's doing. Okay, that's my problem with James O'Keefe.
I
In a nutshell,
understand, and
Rick
we've
Bennett.
talked about it. So, you know,
Yeah,
I don't agree with you, but I understand your perspective. I don't know why he doesn't do other investigative reporting. Maybe he hasn't found anything to do investigative reporting on. Maybe he doesn't want to do investigative reporting on Republicans. But you and I have talked about this. I think the Republicans are just as culpable with some of the BS that's going on in our country right now as the Democrats are. You know,
yeah. I mean,
so
I think the Democrats are more culpable right this minute, but I think throughout our history, they both are culpable in shit
yeah,
that goes on.
yeah,
They both have done
yeah.
bad things,
Well,
and
it's
they
like
both have covered things up.
it's like Lindsey Graham, who's a senator. Is he from Georgia? Is that where he is? Or North Carolina or South Carolina? Where's Lindsey
North
Graham?
Carolina, I think, or
North
South
Carolina,
Carolina.
right?
North Carolina or
Yeah.
South Carolina. Yeah, one of
Yeah.
the Carolina.
Anyway, so I followed Lindsey Graham for a long time, right? So when Rush Limbaugh was still alive, uh, Rush Limbaugh had a term for Lindsey Graham called, Grahamnesty, because Lindsey Graham wanted to give amnesty to all the illegals that came in the country so far. So they were calling it Grahamnesty, for Lindsey Graham. And
Right.
he is, in my mind, he is wavered. I don't want to say flip flop, but he's wavered in between the Democrats and the Republicans as far as where he's siding, right? Because there's a point in time where him and what's his name, John McCain, he was saying, well, we should go ask Senator Kennedy what he thinks about this, right? When Senator Kennedy was still alive. I'm like, why would you go to the...
Yeah, Ted Kennedy, right?
Yeah, Ted Kennedy. Yeah, Ted Kennedy was a Democrat senator from New Hampshire, Vermont,
Massachusetts.
Yeah. So Lindsey Graham and John McCain said that they were going to go see what Senator Kennedy's thought about it. I'm like, why are you going to Senator Kennedy? Like, you got to make your decision based on what he tells you. I thought you were Republicans, right? And you and I have had this conversation about this before, and like I said, I'm not going to use a terminology that you don't like, because I don't know necessarily that was what it was. I found it odd that he was kind of wavering in that. But then I was telling my brother, I went to a customer's recently, and we started talking a little bit of politics, and whenever I go to a customer's house, I never bring up politics. Because I don't want to have a conversation with them. I don't want to get in an argument with them. I just want to support them, whether they're liberal or they're conservative. I don't care. I just want to help them, because it's my job to help them with their computer, right? So when I walk up to the door, I have no idea what they are or who they are, what kind of Democrat.
Wayne there is on, and Stan Smith is on. Hello, boys.
Oh, welcome, you guys. So I don't really care about their political affiliation. And I've had some good conversations. I've had some interesting conversations. I've had some bad conversations, but I usually don't start them, but it is what it is. But this one customer I was having a conversation with, and she says to me, she goes, Lindsey Graham is gay, right? I'm like, what? Like, and I was telling my brother, I'm like, I have never heard that. Have you ever heard that? He's like, nope. I'm like, why have I never heard this before? And I mean, this guy's been a senator for how many years? 15, 18 years?
Yeah. So I looked it up. He's unmarried with no children. So.
Yep. Unmarried
doesn't prove
with no
it,
children.
but
Yeah. So, and I'm not calling him out. It's like, look, if you are, like I said, I don't really care. There's no preference on me, but I was just kind of surprised because I'd never heard that before. I mean, Rush Limbaugh interviewed this guy. Rush Limbaugh had I don't know if you knew this or not, but Rush Limbaugh had Elton John come to his second wedding or third wedding or whatever it was. His wedding, the most recent wedding he had before he passed away. His wife really loved Elton John, so he paid Elton John to come to his party. And he said, I had great conversations with Elton John. Elton John is by no means a conservative by any way, shape, or the form, right? But he had nothing but great things to say about Elton John. And that's kind of the way I feel. I don't really care about your politics. I don't care about your agenda that way. But it's like, we should be able to have a conversation, right? I mean, if Rush Limbaugh can have a conversation with Elton John, right, and Elton John can have a conversation with Rush Limbaugh, then why can't we talk to people in America? I don't understand the difficulty.
Well,
why is it so
I was just when you just said that, I came up with this thought. The reason why we can't in America, I'm gonna bet you Rush Limbaugh and Elton John had a conversation, and they both knew the facts, and they said the facts and their opinion about the facts. They didn't give false facts to back their opinion. In our society right now, people aren't sticking to the facts, and they don't want to know the facts. All they want to know is this is what I want, and I don't care what it takes to get there. That's why we can't have a conversation. Trump is going to be the end of the world if he's the president, according to some of these people, and it's ridiculous what people say. There's no facts to back that up. There's no facts to say that. Right. But people say it.
Well, that kind of
I mean, it wasn't the end of the world the first time he was the president.
So. Right. And it kind of brings us back to the whole reason that we were going to have part of this conversation was because Kamala Harris is going to be interviewed, or Kamala, I always forget which way it's supposed to go. I've heard her name pronounced two different ways in California.
Cruella.
From California. Well, that's a whole different name. Anyway,
I think she wants to be called Kamala. I think
Kamala.
that's what.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so she was doing an interview with Brett Baer today on Fox, and my brother and I were watching it, and that was kind of the point of this interview. But I find it interesting. The reason I'm trying to get back to this is because you were saying the reason we can't have these conversations is because people aren't interested in the facts. They just want to be emotional about what
Right.
they want to talk about. And that's how most of her answers, Vice President Harris's answers were. Hey, Mark Martinez, what's up, guy? Man, how's it going, Mark?
Martinez. How's it
So
going?
that's how most of her answers were in that interview. They were all about Trump. They
Right.
had nothing to do with the question, nothing to do with the answer. She just wanted to talk
And,
about how bad Trump was.
and here's the thing. I'm sure she didn't like the question. And
Right.
I'm sure she said, why can't we talk about this? If I was Brett Baer, I immediately thought this. If I was Brett Baer, when she said, why can't we talk, we should be talking about this, he could have came back with, well, you've already talked about this with other investigators or other interviewers, but they didn't ask these questions that I'm asking you.
Right.
So that's why we need the answers to these questions, because these other questions which you want to answer have been asked by the people who like you. These are the people who don't like you. We need answers, okay?
Right.
Or the people who are thinking whether they should vote for you. They've already know these other answers. They don't know these answers. But she doesn't want to answer them. And she didn't, a couple of them too. Well, I'm going to follow the law. Fuck you. That's what I say to her.
Well, there's a guy I follow on Facebook. He posted something, kind of elusive like that, and about following the law. And I said, well, the problem is that her saying she's going to follow the law is my perspective is if she doesn't like the law, she's going to change it if she becomes president.
Well, and that's the thing. So if you change the law, then you're following it. I said I was going to follow it, and you're right, Wayne. But she also looked incompetent not answering the question too. So
right, and
she was in a no-win situation.
She was getting
she got
too.
pissed.
I was like, whoa, she's and I don't think that's a good look for you. I don't think whether you're male, female, black, white, whatever. Getting angry at an interview like that with Brett Baer does not seem like a good response.
Well, that's the one thing that in their debate that Trump looked terrible at. He got pissed and he started ranting about stupid shit. And other than that, he would have won he would have won that in a landslide. But that happened, and he looked bad when he did it. And you're right. So it doesn't look good for anybody. That's right. She got angry at him because he wasn't giving her an easy question to answer. Exactly. And he was trying to make her answer the questions, and she didn't want to answer.
Just give me the answer to the question. Well, 5 years ago in 2019, I said that. Okay, so where do you stand today? I'll follow the law. What does that have to do with your opinion? Really nothing she can do at this point.
There's really nothing she can do at this point to help her cause. She is what she is, and it's being revealed. Yeah. But it's got to keep being revealed. There was a new poll out today that Trump is actually winning the popular vote nationwide, but he's losing in the swing states. And I don't understand that, but
the guy that Tucker Carlson was interviewing with him, he had a totally different perspective on this, and he had a what I would consider a realistic perspective of the different states, and they went over state by state. I can't remember them all, but it's a very good interview. If you look up Tucker Carlson Network, you can you can find the interview, but. He talked about specifically different states and how to win. What's the path to winning? So go ahead.
The polls have been so wrong for the last the one with Trump won. Actually, in the one he lost to Biden, they were wrong. They were wrong in that one. If they're as wrong as they were on those two, he's going to kick her ass. Okay, but you just never know.
Yeah, and I don't want to say, well, I think it's over because I think, and I heard Dan Bongino say this. I've heard other people say it's like, look, you got to play like it's the bottom of the ninth and you're down by 4 runs, and you just got to play as hard as you can and try to get it over the the finish line. Try to get that last home run and win the game.
Yeah,
right. And that's how we have to play that. If we don't want Kamala Harris or Vice President Harris to win the nomination for presidency, we have to continue until the vote is over, making sure our vote is in, our vote is counted, and that he wins. And look, if you're a Democrat and you're listening to our show, let me tell you the same thing. You need to go vote. Go vote. Don't believe that Kamala Harris is going to win just because of all the polls. Go vote. Make your vote count, right? And I'm not.
Everybody needs to
I
vote.
yeah. I'm an American uh, constitutional republic. We are a constitutional republic, and we have a right as American citizens to vote, and our votes will affect the electors of our state so that they will vote for the person that's going to be the president. And don't wait till election day. Yeah, yeah, because there's people talking about, hey, there's gonna be power outages, or we're gonna be an attack on America, or something that we can do to stop the voting of the November 6th, I think it is. So it's like we can't wait.
Well, even
We
Trump
need to
now is
vote
where
now.
Trump used to be. Don't vote early. Vote on election day. He's even saying now, get out early. Get out and vote.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Because you never know what's going to happen, right?
mhm.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, I'm intrigued to see what happens. The state of California has like 35 uh, ballot measures or some stuff on the ballot, aside from all the other ridiculous malarkey that they're going to have on election day. So my wife and I are going to sit down and go over our electronic ballots and fill them out and send them in. So I could if I wanted to, and I'm not going to. So I just want to make sure I'm very clear. I'm not going to do this. But they have continued to send my son a ballot in the state of California, and he is registered in another state in this country, and he has voted in another state in this country. But the great state of California continues to send my son a ballot to my house. So, which is interesting because
There's so much wrong with the state of California. I don't know if it's fixable, but they're just doubling down, making.
Yeah, last year they were still sending one to my daughter. Like the 2022 election,
Right.
my daughter had a ballot to vote, and she's been living in another state for like 4 or 5 years now. So it's like,
right,
they're not clearing their voter ballots. They probably are doing this with multiple other people. And for all I know, there's a ballot with my name on it going to one of my previous addresses. I don't know. I just don't trust our state. So yeah, and that's another thing Mark Martinez just brought up. Yeah,
signed a law that poll workers cannot ask for ID, so conservatives vote early and vote often. There you go.
Yeah, I don't know about the vote often because I mean, honestly, Mark, and you know this, I'm sure, and I know you're just joking, but it's just as illegal to vote often as a Republican as it is for a Democrat, and I don't think that we should be encouraging that and saying, "Oh, well, I'm going to vote often," right? And I get it; it's a joke. I'm not demeaning you at all, Mark. I just think that we need to be careful in what we're doing and what how we're doing it. We need to do it right, and we need to stand up and say enough is enough. Have you ever seen that George Clooney movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
No.
So there's a part in there where the Ku Klux Klan is meeting, and George Clooney and a couple of other guys get involved in somehow they go to the Klan meeting, they get found out, so then they run away and they get back into town, and so they're George Clooney's basically escaped prison, right? So he's gonna sing this song. What is that song? Anyway, it's a great song. He's gonna sing this song in front of this like open hall, right? There's the meeting hall, and he's on the stage. He's gonna sing the song, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, that's the guy! He's the guy!" Because he sang it in a. It used to be like in the old time radio stations. They'd be out in the middle of nowhere. You could go into the radio station, they'd let you sing, right? Like sing a song, and he sang a song, and it became popular according to the movie, right? So anyway, the long story short is these two guys came into the area and they start making claims about George Clooney's character, and then somebody says, "Hey, weren't you at the Ku Klux Klan meeting earlier today?" And they're like, "What?" And they literally ran them out of town on a rail. They had this big 4x8 piece of lumber that they strapped the two guys onto and marshaled them out of town. I'm like, that's what running them out of town on a rail looks like. And we need to start doing this to some of our politicians, because our politicians have no care or concern for American citizens. And whether there's Republicans and Democrats both that are in this matter. And I think that there comes a point in time where they need to be marshaled out of the area to say, you know what, we need new blood, we need new people that are going to stand for the Constitution of the United States, that are going to stand to say, you know what, enough is enough. We are not going to do another continued resolution. We're going to do a budget, and if we don't have a budget, we're going to shut the government down. I don't care, right? Oh, well, it's going to look bad. You won't vote for me. You know what? I don't care. Shut the government down and make sure that you pass a budget that says, look, this is your money. Spend it. You can see how FEMA spent their money, right? FEMA didn't spend their money the way they're supposed to spend it. They allocated some money to illegal aliens to house the illegal aliens.
Yeah, I don't know if that's all true or not. They say, yeah.
But now
that came from a different pot of money over here, not this pot over here.
Yeah, and by the way, that was done under President Trump. No, it was not. So Speaker Johnson was on an interview with ABC, and she makes the comment, well, that was a law that was passed under President Trump, and that's the law that's being used. And he's like, no, I'm not going to let you get away with that. That is not a law that's passed under Trump. That law was not passed until 2020 when President Biden was in office. He made that law for FEMA. So FEMA is, Biden has full accountability and responsibility for that law. No, well, President Trump, right. He's like, no, I'm not going to let you get away with that. You are not going to say that this is President Trump's fault, because it's not President Trump's fault. It's Joe Biden. And she continued to try to slip it in there. She, President Trump did that or whatever. No, President Trump. And I was like, wow, that's one of the first times that I've seen Speaker Johnson actually have the backbone to say, no, that's not the way it is. I wish you would have the backbone to say, no, we're not going to pass a continued resolution.
They need to tell these guys when they're wrong, and they need to repeat that they're wrong over and over again. Yeah. Otherwise, people they get this, even if they say they're wrong once and then they don't, people look at them like, yeah, they were just saying it, but you keep saying it, and that's the one thing about, I'm drawing a blank here. President's vice president guy.
J.D. Vance.
That's the one thing about him. He has no problem telling that, no, that's not right. He's got no problem, and he does it in a way where he stays calm.
Yeah.
And he just tells them matter of factly, no, that's not the way it is. And I like J.D. Vance. I like him a lot, actually.
I do too. And that's why one of the reasons I like Brett Baer today in his interview with Vice President Harris was because he was like, well, wait a minute, no. And then she's like, you need to let me answer the question. You need to let me answer the question. You interrupted me. It's like, look, you can not gerrymander, but you can filibuster this interview as much as you want, but I'm not going to let you get away with it, right? And you need to answer the question. And you're not even going in the same direction as the answer to the question. So what did Mark have to say? People take all kinds of risks when they play Monopoly because it's fake money. It's not real. That's the way politicians look at taxpayer money. It's not real to them. If they run out, they just print more and they still collect their political office paycheck. Yeah. I was reading to my brother earlier today the political amounts. Let's see if I can find it really quick. The political amounts of senators in here it is. Yeah. So let's see. The number one, John Thune, who's a Republican of South Dakota, cash on hand $18,518,498. Right. John Kennedy, who I like, I love John Kennedy. He's got some great responses. He's a senator for Louisiana. He has $14,079,632.
He's a common sense guy. That guy.
Yeah, he is. Lindsey Graham, who we're talking about.
He could come on our show.
Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it? Oh man, that would be awesome. I'd probably just let him talk the whole time. Just throw a little. What about this? And let him go. He has such great answers and such amazing responses. So Lindsey Graham, Senator of South Carolina. That's what we were wondering about earlier. Is a Senator of South Carolina. $13,649,487. And now here's my favorite. My brother and I were talking about this because I got a text from Ted Cruz today. Hey, can you donate $1 to my campaign? Because I'm afraid I'm going to lose to this Democrat, right? Ted Cruz, $12,710,949. That's what he has in his coffers right now. That's cash on hand, right?
And he's
And
asking for more.
he's asking me for $1 to help his campaign. I'm like, well, wait a minute, what the heck, you know? So, and then I forgot what his was it the guy who's running against him? Who's running against him? Do you remember we were talking about that?
I don't
But
remember his name.
he had like
He's an ex-military guy.
but he had like $3 or $4 million less than
Yes.
Ted Cruz did, right? Or not Ted Cruz, yeah.
Yeah. But I think,
Yeah.
I just thought of this, and I think Ted Cruz said that there's like George Soros is spending shit ton of money down there.
Right.
So maybe it's not even the guy's money. Maybe it's like one of those acts,
Right. Well, so that makes me think of another sensitive topic that my brother and I were talking about earlier. And basically, it's going off of the conversation that I saw Elon Musk having with Tucker Carlson. So Elon Musk and Tucker Carlson are talking about, well, what if President Trump doesn't win? And he's like, well, I'm fucked.
Oh, yeah.
Tucker Carlson's like, oh, I'm fucked, right? And then they start talking more about it. And he said, look, he goes, I posted on Twitter. He goes, I've removed it since, but I posted on Twitter. He's like, how come that there's nobody trying to assassinate the Democratic candidate? Just out of curiosity, why is a Democrat candidate not being assassinated, right? And the reason I thought of this, Rick, is because I think it was the first attempt on Donald Trump when he had his ear shot in Butler, PA. I think I made this statement to you. I said, look, we need to start going after these people that are trying to influence our country illegally or behind the scenes. And I named Obama, George Soros, and one other person, right? I don't care about Kamala Harris. I don't care about Joe Biden, right? Because I think those are basically puppets, right? And that's basically what Elon Musk was saying. He goes, nobody's going to do anything to Kamala Harris because they'll just put another puppet in her place, right? That's the whole reason we have Kamala Harris today, or Vice President Harris, Kamala Harris, whatever you want to call her, is because when Joe Biden decided to quit, she's the candidate that would get all the money that he had in his coffers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's that reporter I said that Tucker Carlson.
And that's the reason she got picked, because you were telling me that they originally wanted to have like a 5-person debate and then have the delegates decide who they wanted to debate. And she wasn't even going to be one of the 5.
Right. Yeah. So that was the guy that was.
Then they realized all that money that they've given to Biden is gone if she's not the president nominee. So they took a person who they were trying to get rid of 7-8 months ago as the vice president nominee, and they weren't even going to invite her to the top 5 to be in the presidential race.
Right.
But their money kept her in it. Plus, the other fact is the Democrats can't figure out a way to jump her. Wait, that wasn't the right word. To move past her.
To pass over her. Pass over her
because of their wokeness, and she's a black
she's
woman.
a woman and a black woman.
Because that would be unwoke. And it's just foolish that she's even the nominee. It really is. Right. And then the people of America just go along with. These are the same people who thought she was an idiot 7 months ago. Now she's the best thing since sliced bread. Are you kidding me? People do anything. Think about anything. Come on.
I mean, it's fascinating to me. Yeah, Montel and Willie figured out the way to jump her. Yeah, they did. Absolutely, Mark. They did. There's
they did.
Of her. What's funny about Montel
Probably
Williams
more than that.
Well, what's funny about Montel Williams is he had a woman under each arm. So it wasn't just Kamala Harris or whatever. Right. He had another woman with him too. So
yeah.
But the reporter that Tucker Carlson was talking to basically said this. He said their plan, because they realized that Joe Biden was probably not going to make it, was they should have 4 or 5 people give speeches at the Democratic National Convention and let the electors choose who they thought should be their Democratic nominee, right? But like Rick said, they realize that they're going to lose $300 million of investment into them. But then you got people like George Soros that are just dumping, millions of dollars into it anyway. She's raised over $1 billion, $1 billion to become president of the United States, right? So how much money did Donald Trump? What was his net worth before he became president in 2016? Do you remember?
I do not remember. No.
Somewhere, this is a Jeff Bennett Reader's Digest guess, right? Somewhere around $6 billion, right? You know what his net worth was after he left office?
I know it was less than that, but I don't know what it was.
Like $5 billion. So he lost $1 billion in the 4 years that he was the president of the United States, right? So
right.
Every other president on the Democrat side and the Republican side has gained resources, right? Whether it's Bush, father or son, Clinton, Barack Hussein Obama, he's like the most, right? Like he went from like having less than $1 million to over 315 million. That is the book deals, I'm sure. So that's why he's so rich now. But it's like people need
still
to
way less
realizing,
than Trump.
Yes, yeah. Well, Trump lost money; he gained money. So yeah, but he still has less.
Yeah, but even after Trump lost money, he still had way more than Obama.
Yeah, that's true. And oh, by the way,
it's because of his white privilege, I think, though.
Well, I don't have the card with me. I can't whip it out. So anyway, but
I think I do.
People need to start realizing what these people are doing, right? Barack Obama is one of these global warming people, right? Climate change people, whatever you want to call it today. Where's this guy buying houses? He has a house in Hawaii. He has a house in Martha's Vineyard. Martha's Vineyard is what? Yeah, it's hard to see. It's not clear. Basically, it's my brother. Here, hand it to me. Oh, there you go. But basically, Martha's Vineyard is about a foot or two above sea level, right? And these people are talking about how the ice melts is going to raise 2 or 3 feet, and Florida is going to be underwater. But what do you think is going to happen to Martha's Vineyard if the water comes up that high? Right? Martha's Vineyard won't even exist. So yet these people are buying houses there because they really don't believe in global warming. They just believe
they really don't believe it. You're right.
Yeah. They just believe that you should listen to what they say, and they're going to fly over the country.
Well, they're getting rich off it. That's why.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
They're getting rich
Al
off
Gore
it.
said.
If they truly believed it, they wouldn't fly 100 private jets to a meeting wherever they go, or more than 100. I don't know how many.
Davos, I think, something like that.
Wherever they're going, and fly in all the hookers and all that stuff. So they wouldn't do that. They would have a meeting like we're having right here.
Yeah. They could be sitting in their house. They could be on a little Zoom call, and they could have a conversation.
If they truly believe about global warming, that's what they would do. But they don't. Therefore, this is what they do. They buy the houses on the beach. They fly all over the place in private jets.
Buy yachts.
One flight of their private jet is more CO2 in the air than I will put in my whole year driving my car around.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's for your private jets and your CO2 bullshit, right there.
You're a little fuzzy, so I thought you were doing this, but then I realized you're doing this. So it's
exactly. My lighting's a little off here today.
Double Johnny Cash, not the field goal attempt. It wasn't a field goal attempt, people. It was a double Johnny Cash.
There, let's try it. There we go.
Now you should put your white privilege card up there so people can see it.
Oh,
because they'll be able to see it now. But I just find it fascinating that in the few years that I took of college, right? I went to Cal Poly University in San Luis Obispo. And I also went to Cuesta College in San Luis Obispo. But in a few years that I went to college up there, I got into some of the political. Took a political science class as a requirement. I loved it. Thought it was great. But one of the things that we had to read was Machiavelli's The Prince, right? And I honestly don't remember if I read the whole thing or not. But the one thing I do remember getting out of Machiavelli's The Prince is basically, as a political leader, you tell the people what they want to hear, and then you do whatever the hell you want to do. Screw them. They heard what they wanted to hear. They're going to vote for you,
and they're doing.
Go do what you want. And that's exactly what our politicians are doing on both sides. It's like,
Yeah.
they talk about, well, you got all this, drugs coming in the southern border. Well, what are you doing to shut the southern border? Well, there's nothing we can do. Really? Doesn't the Congress control the purse strings of the southern border and every department in our government? Right? Isn't it
Mm-hmm.
Congress's job to control the spending of the money? But
Mm-hmm.
none of them are willing to actually do something about it. None of them are willing to say, you know what? I'm not budging on this. I don't really care. And oh, by the way, you start January 12th, right? And they don't start worrying about the budget until October when they have to do a continued resolution. Why aren't you worrying about the budget back in January, right? Why don't you start saying, hey, let's start working on the budget. So maybe by June, we can say, here's our budget. We're going to pass our budget, right? So then when December comes
Right.
around, there's not a continued resolution that's necessary. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like
Yeah.
it says, Obama averages
Yeah.
$400,000 for public speaking. So do you think Obama got $400,000 when he gave a speech the other day where he said, the problem with the voting right now is
Brothers.
the brothers need
The
to
brothers.
vote. They get over the idea to vote for a black woman. Brothers need to do that. You think he got paid $400,000 for that? He might have, because
If you
Kamala
don't,
Harris has,
if you don't vote for Camilla, you ain't black.
right. But I mean, she has $1 billion in her coffer, so why wouldn't she throw President Obama $400,000? Oh, here you go. Thanks for speaking for me.
Yeah.
Right. It's not even a scratch out of her $1 billion coffer, right? And this is
Right.
what happens. And then they say, oh, the rich don't pay their fair share, right? Bernie Sanders, those billionaires out there. Well, your presidential nominee right now has $1 billion, so she's a billionaire, right? And how much money does Bernie Sanders have again? He has like 3 houses and a couple $100 million. He used to say the millionaires are the problem, but now he's got a couple $100 million or at least $100 million. And so now he's talking about the billionaires. This is what these people do. And I mean, think about it. This guy lives in Vermont. Obama and the Clintons,
Yeah.
they don't. Yeah, the Obamas, the Clintons, they don't talk unless they get paid big money. Yeah. But think about it. Bernie Sanders is a senator from Vermont. Bernie Sanders has never one day in his life worked a real job. He's always been under the government
Right.
dole, whether it's a local school board,
Right.
a local city council, or whatever it is. He has never worked a day in his life, and he's always complained about our government and how they suck and how billionaires need to pay their fair share. I mean, he used to say millionaires, but now that he's a millionaire, he's got to say billionaires. But it's like,
Right.
and the people are going to vote for him again. What? Oh, yeah, well, we love Bernie Sanders, because he kind of goes with our Vermont values. Really? So you love the fact that he's now become a multi-millionaire living off the dole of the government? Because you can't, he's not.
Yeah. And how does that
earning
happen on
Congress
that
or Senate.
salary?
Yeah.
I don't know.
How do you become a millionaire when you're making $150,000 a year as a senator, or $160,000 a year, whatever their senator pay is right now? How do you become a millionaire, even if you've been working 10 years, right? Because you still have expenses.
You
Right?
got. Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though. They probably don't have expenses because they have all these stuff that they can write off, and they're going to write off more than they do, so that like they don't have to pay for their trips back and forth to Washington. They don't have to pay for a place to stay in Washington. They probably have a car that's all paid for their their campaign funds. So they don't have car payment, car insurance. All their
Right.
meals are paid for.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Plus, on top of their senator salary, they have a campaign fund that is part of their salary, right? So that they can spend their money on doing campaigning events, right? So, oh, you know what? I got to go to Vermont this weekend to do a campaign event. Oh, you know what? I got to go to Hawaii to do a campaign event. Why, as a senator of Vermont, would you need to go to Hawaii to do a campaign event? Or why, as a senator of Vermont, would you need to go to Russia to do a campaign event, or Europe to do a campaign event, or Africa to do a campaign event? Right? These people go all over the world on our dime, and they say they're doing it because they're trying to do campaigning for they're doing campaigning. It's like, wait a minute. you're a senator in Vermont. What difference does it make what's happening in Africa, in Europe, in Russia, or in Israel, or any of these places? Or
Sure, they can find a
what was
convoluted answer that explains it away. Like, well, if the economics in Africa have green grass in their backyard, and I was a middle class family,
I
and
was
then
born in a
I
middle
came,
class
then I
family.
come back to Vermont. Yeah, that's how it works. Just like that. Yeah. So Wayne
Yeah.
says term limits. I can't agree more with you, Wayne, than term limits. I think that would help the problem. I think they would find ways around that eventually, and they wouldn't be able to completely go around it, but they would find ways to figure it out. And I think the big goal is here for a lot of these people is they want the one world order, and they want everybody. They don't want they, they're making money by having businesses overseas, and they don't want the jobs to come back to America because they can't make the money they're making if they have it in China or wherever, Korea or India or wherever. And I've said this many times, that
Or Palestine.
it's
Palestine. We
it's
gotta go to Palestine because we want to support the Palestinians. Because Israel's so terrible to them. Yeah, that's.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I interrupted.
Um
My apologies.
that's all right. I've said this many times that uh the original it our business people, most of our business people, you can talk to guys like Mark Cuban, I'm sure Soros, I'm sure these people who are backing the Democrats is because they want the one world order and they want their businesses to be overseas because they're making more money overseas. And they know if they bring them back, they're not going to be able to raise the prices to the point of the amount of money that they're not getting by having them overseas. So they're going to make less money. It's not that they're going to cost us more money. They're going to make less money. And I've said this over and over again that when the steel mills started buying their steel from China back in the 70s, um, the price of steel didn't go down
Right.
to the automakers. The price of cars didn't go down. The stuff you bought, the prices didn't go down. They made more money. Okay.
Right.
And they don't want it to go back to that because they're all these multi-billionaires now when back there was only millionaire. Whoever thought someone would be a billionaire at some time? We're like, yeah, no one will ever be a billionaire. Now there's many of them.
Right.
And Musk might become a trillionaire someday here pretty soon. The way he's
Maybe,
going.
yeah. I mean, but you know what? The difference with what you're talking about though is the thing about Elon Musk is he has a knowledge and a skill that's benefiting Americans, right? He has Tesla's made in America, Starlink's made in America. Well, I don't know if the product is made in America, but he is doing the factories and stuff in America, or doing the sales of the product in America.
I wonder
And
if all the
and
parts he's getting
SpaceX.
for those Teslas are made in America because I can bet they're not.
Well, we already know
But-
they're not. The batteries are made in China.
Kathy
that
Bennett's
seems to be.
watching. Hello, Kathy.
Hey, there she goes. All right, she must be. Yeah, I just told her that she's on her way home. I just told her that we were doing a podcast. So yeah, let's see what's going on here. Yep. Oh, Vicky
Anyways,
Patterson Thayer's
there's
on,
too
too.
much
Vicky
of our
Patterson
stuff that's
Thayer's
made
on.
overseas and then brought here. Because what did you say, Jeff? You told me this the other day. Kathy says hi.
Hey, sweetie, how's it going? Drive
Those
safe.
great big crates you see them put on a ship. It's just one price. Doesn't matter what you put in. What was the
Right.
price? You told me this a couple.
I don't
You
remember
what it
we were
was?
looking it up. I don't remember what it was because the reason we were looking it up is because I was telling my brother, I said, if we pooled our money, because we have so much money, if we pooled our money and we
Yeah.
bought one of these cargo ships, we could make enough money to pay that cargo ship off in one transfer of materials from China to the U.S. So with all of the
Right.
cargoes, containers that go on that
As
ship,
long as we didn't hit a hurricane.
right? And you weren't planning on going to North Carolina, but whatever. Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
they're literally a money making machine, and I'm I'm not diminishing the idea that they have to have a lot of investment in there. There's a lot of expenses and all this other stuff, and they have a lot of pirate ships. Pirates trying to board their ships on the way around the African Horn and all that other stuff. But it's like, you know, in fact, that I wonder. Think about that. So if um, if the ships are, I'm just looking at a map. I'm looking at Elon Musk's um, Starlink map. The
Starlink.
ships are, if the ships are coming from China and they came directly to America, then
They
that
go to
should be a
California.
pretty, yeah, that should be a pretty straight shot.
Yeah,
Now, if
China
they're,
goes to California.
but then what ships would go around the southern horn of Africa? Would they? I mean, unless they
Let
were
me look.
on the western side of Australia, they'd probably be quicker than going around Australia or going through the islands there, Taiwan and all that good stuff. So yeah, so I mean, there's always pirates. I don't know why that is, but there's always pirates. So there is a risk, but the risk is I would say, I don't know for a fact, but I would say that the risk is kind of minimal for doing one of these boat shipping, because they also go through the Panama Canal. So why would they need to go through the Panama Canal? Maybe they're coming from Africa or Europe. Maybe I don't
The
know.
Panama Canal doesn't get used a lot the way it used to because of all the shipping ports that we have.
Right.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Um,
But I remember when California was backed up because they were saying they didn't have enough workers to empty the boats. DeSantis was saying, "Hey, bring them to Florida. We'll unload them for you." Um,
right.
so anyway, yeah. So we got totally off track. Boat shipping. Working overseas. So I think Elon Musk, he has Starlink, he has SpaceX, and he has Tesla that are basically American companies. They're probably not all made in America, but the companies are reside in America. He's, and currently right now, all of the United States and most of South America, all of the North America and most of South America is covered with the Starlink. So there's like two places in America where you can't get a Starlink yet. One of them is Washington D.C. area, and the other one looks like it's the Area 57 in Nevada. Where what is that?
Yeah.
Nevada? No, New Mexico. New Mexico. So there's a couple places where it's not covered, but and it's like $120 a month. You pay $600 for the satellite, and you pay $120 a month, and you basically get 100 megs up and 100 megs down, unlimited bandwidth with these things. So basically, right now you can go anywhere in the country with your satellite and have full internet access. So that maybe I should buy one of those, sell everything I have, and start living off the road. Anyway,
There
just an
you go.
idea. Hey Kathy, what do you think about that? I know you're driving, so you can't really answer that, but hey, maybe that's what we should do. She's like, "Don't do that now. Don't say that now." Anyway, yeah. So, um,
She
anyway,
almost crashed, I think.
yeah, probably. She's like, "That's worse than saying you want to move to Tennessee." I don't know.
There you go. Yep.
So, no.
Oh,
Anyway, so I mean, we are living in interesting times. So my brother talked about the one world order. I think that that is something that they are trying to promote. That is something they're trying to head towards. I think that if Vice President Harris gets nominated, then it's going to be a problem. I think the continuation towards a one world order is going to be a road, like a icy downhill slide. So, and you know how that goes. Just can't stop on that. Yep, just blank. She's like, anyway.
on my thing, it came up as a face with
Oh, did it?
with swirly eyes.
Oh, I got nothing on my side. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So we live in interesting times. Bank your vote. Go out and vote. Make sure you vote early and vote often, as Mark said. I'm not going to argue with him about that, but we need to do everything that we can to save the constitutional republic of America, because I think if Kamala Harris wins, I think that it will be a short road to our destruction and downfall. And
Well, here's what I say: if you want if you want men playing in girls sports, if you want unlimited amount of immigrants coming into our country, you should vote for Kamala Harris. Okay. If you want no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on overtime, you should vote for Trump. That's what I like.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, if you love America, I mean, why would you want to have a bunch of illegal aliens come into our country? You know, I mean, these people are already killing and murdering American citizens. They have a drug trade that's coming into America that's killing hundreds of thousands of people.
That was only a couple instances, Jeff. So, you know.
A couple inches, and only one apartment complex has been taken over by the Nicaraguan gangsters there, or whatever they're called. You know,
In Colorado. Yeah.
yeah, in Colorado. So, and there's no animals. There's no animals being eaten by the Haitian immigrants in Ohio. Is that where it was?
Yeah, I don't care what the people of Ohio say. It didn't happen.
Springfield, I think Springfield, Ohio. Yeah, so it's
I think it's Springfield, Ohio. Yeah.
The governor says it's not happening, so therefore it isn't happening. So just listen to what I tell you, and don't look at the video.
She said it's not happening, therefore it's not.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, yeah. So I digress. It's 6:01. I think we've done a pretty decent show. So we'll just end it with God bless America. Go out and vote. God bless our United States soldiers, our Marines, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, Army, all of you guys. We appreciate all your sacrifice and your service to our country. God bless our firefighters. God bless our police officers. We appreciate you. We stand by you. We support you. And God bless our first responders. And just God bless you all for showing up and listening to our show. And God bless America.
Hi, Luke Casantes just got on as we were getting ready to leave. Hello, Luke. Good to see you. And you'll have to go back and watch the whole thing because we're getting ready to go. Everything my brother said times two. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. And God bless you all and have a great night.
God bless you. That is loud. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to go. Good night.